we know that people hate the experience of crypto. They get hacked, they lose their money, they get deterred. They say this is garbage. I want a hotline where I can call somebody.
If you are politically outspoken in Canada with the trucker convoy, if you are politically outspoken in the United States, if you're organizing protests against the government, if you are speaking out against any of the hot button issues, you better have some Bitcoin and it better be self-custody.
Even if it's on fucking Robinhood.
100%.
Smash them into their Coinbase, ETF, whatever is the easiest thing to do. Because then it makes our life easy. And he goes and does that, smashes $50 million on, and 1 week later has lost the fucking password. All we would do is just talk about what we're doing and how we're doing it tonight. And the audience actually gets to see how 6 or 8 people all come together with all their different expectations. And we just take 5, 10, 15 minutes. Okay, how are we going to do this? Who's going to do it? What's the rule structure? And then the audience gets to figure out how 6 people that don't know each other very well all come together and cooperate and create something, right? And then hopefully we're going to create a really, really interesting conversation. I think this is going to be a fascinating conversation and really good for the industry, and maybe even families. So Dana, so guys, let's just talk about, while we're waiting on Simon, if somebody could ping Simon. In fact, the whole audience ping Simon, and that'll pretty much get him here. How do we, Dana, you're going to moderate this thing because we had somebody pull out, right? And I think that's awesome. If you would moderate for us, will you do that?
Yep, on it.
Awesome. See, now I know I have a team member that's like, yeah, throw me the ball. Cheney's going to run the show. Because that's right, Cheney. You're going to do all the buttons and all that stuff. And hopefully you guys will appreciate some of the gimmickry that we'll come up with to make this more and more entertaining. If this stuff is not entertaining, I got to tell you, this is my bitch about spaces. I do not want to hear someone talk like this for 8 hours, dude. I don't care how much you know about anything. It's so boring. It has to be entertaining. My twin brother taught me that lesson about media. We don't know what our sides are yet, and we're still waiting on our. Now, what do we do, guys, if Simon doesn't show up?
I mean, then we just gotta lay it out.
Yeah, we just raise hell. I mean, like we're going to have a great discussion. I don't care. You could throw me on any side. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. Just put me in, coach. That's all about it.
And that's the right way to do a debate. You come in, you go, put me on. That's the way we probably should do it in the future. We invite people and don't tell them what side they're going to be on, and then we flip a coin. I like that for the future.
I want to go either way on this one.
What's that?
Arguments on both sides.
Your sound is a little raggy.
What?
Yeah, you were just a little far away. Have we heard anything from Simon, Dana?
No, but this is late his time, so he was always
he's been on many shows with me at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
So I messaged him again, so we'll see.
So I have a couple ideas. Number one, I think it's important we lay out like what the actual topic is, so that everybody's on the same page on what we're actually debating.
Clearly define the topic.
It always steers off that way. One idea, we should definitely have like WWE style intro videos for our debaters, right? So like when Joe comes on, right, it's got to be like him body slamming Dark Side off the top rope.
Love that.
Well, I can't do that if he's not here, right?
So.
There we got Simon. Now we have the Atlantic Ocean, the Eurozone represented properly.
Yeah, it's the transatlantic trade.
Look at this crew.
There we go. Poly markets. Hey, listen, thank you for joining, Simon. Everybody, first off, you guys follow all these cats, okay? They're making a lot. They've made a huge personal investment in this industry. And I think all 4, 5, 6 of these people make an investment in humanity. And I think that's really, really cool. Simon, just to bring you up to speed, as you were just a tad late, by the way, Dana, remind me to dock his pay, his $2 an hour, his fiat dollar an hour pay. For being late. Okay. Let's make sure we stick it in his file, put it on the blockchain, make sure it never happens again. You guys, first off, should really follow all these people. Simon, what we were doing was coming up with, okay, now what do we do if Simon doesn't show up, and who's going to do what? We're kind of letting the audience see that we're all creating something together without really being well planned out, because I think people overplan many times. So Dustin, where were you before Simon popped in? You were.
Yeah, no. So I think that we should pair up the teams, like who's going to be on which side. Generally speaking, intro from one side, same amount of time for the response. We have a timer, right? That we set up so that everybody can see the timer on screen, which I think is helpful. Dana, will be up to you to like control letting people go over slightly. You know, like we want people to finish their point, but the audience will now be able to see when somebody is, you know, bogarting the microphone. I think the easiest way to do it, like Cheney will pull up whoever's speaking and make them like front and center. And then whoever's going to give the response. And then I think we should have like 2 back and forths, and then just like open back and forth where we can just volley between each other.
Yeah, I like the volleying. I got to say, the debate that's really, really too sterile, I want to be able to smash it a little bit. So if we have a section for that, either Cheney or Dana, let us know that we can just do a free-for-all for a couple of minutes. What about questions from the audience on this? And I think there's going to be a lot of questions on this debate. This is going to be a self-custody versus other. No, it's a little controversial. So if I think it'll be really fascinating conversation. But what happens? Do we want the audience to vote, or have we created any kind of mechanism for that?
Yeah, we're going to vote at the end.
Yeah, I think Dana's going to put it on your page. And then when you guys are answering audience questions, there'll be this little bit of time in between from the start of that to the end. And then we can go to your page and see what the results are. And you can run the poll even longer and check back later, but you can check in on what they are before the show's over.
Can we sharpen the question? Can we have what is best for onboarding new Bitcoiners, self-custody?
Yeah, why don't we talk about that just in 1 second? How we're going to define the topic. But before we do that, can we just? I think this is like what you just told me, Cheney. It's probably better. We can do the voting issue later. It's the questions that we really want to handle. So let's leave, maybe 8 minutes or something, 10 minutes to do questions. Okay, so Joe, great question. We're talking about custody versus, and this is why I said it this way, versus everything else. Right now, I actually think that's the wrong question because it leaves you in a very, in fact, let's just go ahead and start how we're going to do this debate, right? But it leaves you in a right or wrong position, right? Custody versus everything else. But I don't think the question is just onboarding, but it might be. What do y'all think? I mean, maybe that is the topic.
Isn't that the goal? Isn't that the goal? Don't we all want people to get onboarded?
Well, I sometimes hear people think the goal is self-custody. And that,
To what end? To what end?
I mean, these comments are all self-custody. Next topic. Answer, self-custody. Good night, everyone. There's some pretty strong opinions.
I tell you what, I think this discussion, when you really flush it out across the planet, it has maybe that is a good question, Joe. How did you say it?
I said, what is the preferred for newbies? What's the best way to onboard new Bitcoiners? Is it through self-custody solutions or through custodial models? Which can include ETFs, it can include other institutions holding Bitcoin on your behalf. It can include your lawyer and your accountant or your bank deposit box holding on your behalf.
See, I don't know if this is, if you don't mind me chiming in, I don't know if this is a great topic because the onboarding is whatever's easiest, whatever gets their foot in the door. We'll take whatever we can get.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone here is a Bitcoiner or crypto person. So I think everyone here actually wants to hear about, what I think they think the topic is about, which is like, if you had to choose one or the other, what would you choose? Well, what do you guys think?
I mean, I got to say, I do like this. Let's go ahead and argue over what gets argued over about in spaces. but I don't think that it's being like one of the things I would like to bring up here is like, you're never, ever going to hear me say that I self-custody ever, except my Glock. That is the only thing I self-custody. It's a Glock with a full fucking round mag. So like, I'm going to say that because that's the right thing security wise for me to say. And quite frankly, I am surprised that people actually talk about how they do this. I would not do that. And I would like that to come out as part of the discussion because I think it's freaking dangerous to have an open discussion. I have 2 children, right? So that would be part of my debate. Ooh, man. So the other thing is for security reasons, I don't think anyone, Joe and I are going to take the position on non-self-custody, and we're going to let Simon and Dustin present the side of full self-custody. But I don't think that just because they're taking that position, we flipped a coin, means that they self-custody or do not. Okay, so keep the wrench attached to yourself. That's just my way of being a little, for me, it's a very nervous conversation. It is. I mean, because it's one, it's charged in the community, and 2, it's a huge security problem.
Well, Dana, you need to call this because we don't want to lose our audience.
Yeah.
Slice it up. Let's go.
Well, there's still it's 12 minutes though. This is exactly what I thought. Okay, we got
I'll say on like, I think it's too narrow to just like the immediate onboarding process, which is I don't care how people start, but everybody should be pushed towards self-custody. I think that gives us a little bit more room to dive in beyond like that first onboarding phase.
How about this? Is the future of Bitcoin self-custody primarily or custodial solutions?
Love that. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
What do you think, Simon?
Everything we want to cover.
Simon, what do you think?
I'm good. I'll go with the flow. Let's get started.
Okay, so
let's get the topic defined properly.
Yeah. Because the future of Bitcoin, I mean, obviously institutions get involved. We're leaning more toward not self-custody. Where in the beginning, everybody was, go for it.
Why don't we do self-custody versus, and then you guys are still going to make your points.
That's fine.
Right? I mean, you're going to land wherever you land. But I think it keeps it wide open because if we talk about the future, if we're going to self-custody in the future, then we're going to get into the ETFs, and I want this to be about this discussion. You know what I'm saying? It's just.
Yeah, I think we could just fire out. I think we're ready.
Okay.
I think we'll be I have a good feeling where the debate's going to be here.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
We're gonna go around.
Dana, you're running the show. It's your show to run. I'm muting.
We got a really cool group of people: Dustin, Gary, Joe, Simon. So first, we're gonna go around and introduce ourselves. Dustin, you can go first. You're on my right.
Thank you, Dustin Stockton, champion debater. Nobody wants none of this action, and very excited to be here. I come from the world of politics. I actually have been to more than 3 dozen presidential debates where I was an advisor for somebody who was in the presidential debates, most famously with Newt Gingrich in his run in 2012.
All right, good to have you here, Dustin. Gary, what brings you here?
Gary Cardone. Tonight I am representing the side of other, which is non-self-custody, and my partner is Joe Carla.
Okay, my intro. I'm Joseph Carlasari. I am a commercial litigator based out of Chicago. I have a national practice serving Bitcoin miners, offering regulatory advice towards Bitcoin companies and also the greater crypto complex. I also have a regular commercial litigation practice where I am barred in multiple states and represent people in high stakes, bet the company type litigation. So your litigator on the panel, that's what I'm serving as today.
Okay, Simon.
Hey, everybody. I'm Simon Dixon. I've been involved in Bitcoin since 2011. Bought my first Bitcoin at $3. Spoke at the first Bitcoin conference. Wrote the first book to include Bitcoin. Invested in over 100 companies in the industry, from Coinbase, Kraken, Bitfinex, Bitstamp, and many others. and also run a regulated financial institution. So I've been on both sides, the cypherpunk movement, which is where I spend most of my time. But I also have to be an adult sometime when I'm dealing with executives from my company that need to custody Bitcoin and do adult things and engage with regulators and banks. So I understand both sides of the world, but ideologically, I come from the self-custody cypherpunk movement, and the benefits of that I'll be arguing.
Let's go. By the way, shout out to whoever called me out for my mic. Forgive me, they switch my settings.
Cool. So we're going to dive right in. In the meantime, if you guys have questions that you want them to discuss, I'm reading all of them. So go ahead and do that. And we'll start off with self-custody first. So either Simon or Dustin can take the stage. You have 3 minutes. Is that right, Cheney? We decided 3 minutes?
Simon, I'm gonna give to your $3 Bitcoin and long-term experience to lead us out.
All right. Okay. So when I first spoke on Bitcoin in 2011, I was a monetary reformer, and it was us versus the banks. And we were a bunch of activists and cypherpunks that used to think about the freedom that we could get if we can transact outside the banking system. Once I understood Bitcoin and engaged with it, there was no choice but self-custody. You had to set up your own wallet. There was no real, you could go to an exchange and try and buy some Bitcoin, but I would buy it peer-to-peer from somebody. At that time, there was physical Bitcoin, paper wallets. And at that first conference was somebody, a lady that created Trezor and made it easy for people to own Bitcoin in self-custody through a hardware device. The main thing that Bitcoin gave us and me at the time was 3 things: money you can own, money you can spend, and money that has a fixed supply. Now, most people want the financial benefit of money that has a fixed supply that allows you historically to beat inflation and to beat every single asset class. And so some people just stop there. But by self-custodying, you have the ability to own money without any kind of intermediary. And then once you own it, you can spend it peer-to-peer and send it to anybody at any scale, at any amount. And so I put to you that while it's great to beat every single asset class, beat inflation, beat the fund managers, and some people need to do that in a tax efficient way, and therefore there's all sorts of incentives to hold it in custody. And some people don't want to go through the headache of learning how to self-custody. I believe you're missing 2 other vital parts, and that is that if you own it in a custody way, there will be an intermediary involved in every time you want to spend it. And although you might have a small amount of Bitcoin right now, as that value of that Bitcoin gets larger, there may be censorship. And historically, there is censorship because any centralized institution needs to comply with a bunch of rules and regulations before they allow you to actually transact. And if you want to do something that's completely legal, but the government or an institution may not be online with what you want to do, i.e. maybe you want to contribute to WikiLeaks to further freedom of speech, or maybe you want to give to a charitable organization, and maybe that charitable organization is in a sensitive country and therefore they just don't allow you to transact. When you want to do those perfectly legal things, you have to own it in self-custody. The other thing is that the original cypherpunk movement was that if you look at the world right now, there is a big, beautiful bill. And in that big, beautiful bill...
We're running out of time.
Okay.
You want to finish up your last point?
Yeah, this will be the last point. In that big, beautiful bill, there is a surveillance state built into that big, beautiful bill through technology like Palantir. And in that technology like Palantir, when combined with stable coins, is every reason why they are moving to a technocracy, and all the reasons why you want to own your own money and be able to spend your money. And people are going to realize that as we progress.
So we have some comments coming in. Dr. Mark, surreal. So many people still don't get self-storage. There's a lot of emotion going on in the comments. I think we decided to do a rebuttal of 1 minute from the other side, and then we go to the other side with 3 minutes. Is that right? Just a comment on what Simon said so far.
Wait, so I'm commenting on what Simon said for a minute?
We don't know exactly. I don't know exactly how you guys
Yeah,
want to
because
do this.
we have
After,
but the rebuttal should be 3 minutes. They should get equal time to respond.
Dustin, you and Simon are on the same team.
No,
Yeah. Joe, you're going to rebut it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're going to rebut this. Are we ready to go? Can I just fire away?
Okay,
if it was
Start the
going to be
clock.
a minute,
This is the part where the audience gets to see how you figure out things.
We'll start the clock. Okay, first off, the number one priority for Bitcoin in this time and space should be onboarding new people. It should be ease of use. It should be low friction. It should be user-friendly exchanges. It should be ways to get people on board to Bitcoin. You can quote as much as you want the history of the early cyberpunk movement where you had tens of thousands of people holding Bitcoin. That's a science project. That's not global finance. That's not the heart of the financial system. You need to bring in 1 billion users, okay? And the only way to do that is to slowly, incrementally move them towards Bitcoin in a way that they're comfortable, and that is through custodied solutions. Now, that does not in any way undermine what Simon's talking about. You have the ability to withdraw Bitcoin at your leisure, at your convenience, if you get to the point. But we shouldn't let this artificially high bar of self-custody be prohibitive to prevent people from moving in. And I will quote someone who's been in Bitcoin longer than Simon, Hal Finney. I'm quoting a post that he put out there back in 2010, Gary. He said the following: I believe this will be the ultimate fate of Bitcoin, to be high-powered money that serves as a reserve currency for banks, institutions to hold. Most Bitcoin transactions will occur between banks, between entities, not peer-to-peer, not in self-custody. This is Hal Finney, okay? And he said Bitcoin transactions by private individuals will be rare. Bold and underline, audience. Bold and underline that it's a rare occurrence we will have. Only the super rich, super wealthy early Bitcoiners like Simon in a world like we're moving to will be able to do the on-chain transactions. That's just a practical aspect of the technology. So if you're going to just ignore this, I think you're just ignoring modern reality. We know that the self-custody issues deters people. So why are you advocating for something that's going to be a roadblock and an impediment and get people just give up in frustration? I mean, we know that people hate the experience of crypto. They get hacked, they lose their money, they get deterred. They say this is garbage. I want a hotline where I can call somebody. And to pose this usability nightmare on people. That's what you're advocating for, Simon, a usability nightmare where they have to navigate wallets and USB drives and try to save their passwords and make sure, yes, we can all do it. But the majority of the population isn't sophisticated, I think, as most people on this call. We need to get them on the rails. We need to get them comfortable, and we need to lower barriers. And I'll just note one thing. Imagine if you were to say, well, you have to start driving a car, and you have to do it without driver's ed. You have to do it without, weeks of training. You just have to go. And by the way, if you end up killing yourself or killing other people, it's just the way it is. You have to take personal responsibility for it. I know people by name who have lost millions of dollars, their entire life savings, because they were messing with self-custody and they did not know what they're doing. And you can retort as much as you want that that's just private personal responsibility. That's just the way it works. That's just how people have to grow accustomed to. But that sucks if you ruin their lives because they were moving towards something too quickly. You would never put a kid out there on a bike without training wheels. They would fall down and smash their face. You want to move them incrementally to the future you want. I yield the balance of my time. Can't hear anybody. I can't hear anybody.
Well,
I hear lips
it's
moving.
dead silence from the other group, my friend, because it should be. Dustin.
No, so I love how as Bitcoin is growing, we're starting to sound more and more like traditional finance and the elitists who look down their nose at everybody who couldn't possibly figure out how to self-custody and take personal responsibility. The importance of what Simon laid out in the original vision of Bitcoin and what makes it a revolution isn't just getting as many people on board as we can possibly get. It's getting them on board and teaching them what monetary policy is. And for me personally, having been debanked for political reasons, never have been charged with crime, never indicted, just completely added to the politically exposed persons list, which prevented me from having a bank account, not at one institution, but basically all financial institutions. The importance of people understanding and learning what it means to cut out the banks And the people, right, when we talk about adding that layer in between, why should I have to allow somebody, if I want to do a business deal with Gary, why do I need to allow somebody in the custodial position who actually has control of saying yes or no, we can do the transaction that we want to do between each other? And you don't get that revolutionary part of Bitcoin unless you are willing to take personal responsibility and learn to own your own money, not your keys, not your crypto. And so if you want to trust it to the banks and do whatever you want to do that way, the problem is what we are sacrificing in order to speed up and rush the adoption is what made Bitcoin the revolution in the beginning, which is the underlying principles of personal responsibility, owning your own money, and limited supply. As a result of those principles, we're watching the monetary policy shift dramatically, and people understand it. Just giving it away so that it's easier for people, maybe we don't need to make it easier for people. Maybe people need to learn why Bitcoin's a revolution.
Dana, is this now up to me? What, I have 1 minute or 3 minutes?
You have 3 minutes now, unless you guys want to chime in. We don't like the timing.
I don't think I need 3 minutes based on this flimsy response from the opposition. I think my friend JC just like crushed it. The things he left out, however, just some clear facts. One, my own personal experience was the first, I think, I don't know, maybe first hour of meeting Bitcoiners, I heard a word I'd never heard in my life, or 2 words, seed phrase. And that was about $800 Bitcoin. And that's cost me like a tremendous amount of fucking money. And then in 2020, I heard that even though I held a lot of Bitcoin, because I was holding it at an exchange, I was not a good Bitcoiner. I spent about, I don't know, a week playing around with a ledger, and it wasn't, I'm not talking bad about Ledger, just the wallet. It's a lot. And it's not that I'm stupid. One, I have never, ever had to do this in my entire life with any other asset. And I don't do it with my other assets. So you were actually trying to train me to do something that's like so foreign. And what it did was it actually slowed me down coming in. And I think this is the point Joe made. You know, if you're trying to promote something, look, Bitcoin has had a massive problem. This is one of the reasons I'm so bullish, because it's decentralized. It has no central messaging center. It has no central marketing department, and the marketing's been horrific. If you don't, marketing is everything, right? You have to get the message to the people that are going to come into this space, unless you just want it to be cyberpunks. And if you're just going to be a cyberpunk world, you're going to be at $300,000, $3,000, but you're not going to be a major market. This information, see, I love doing these debates because we're going to learn stuff. What Joe read to me, if it's true about Hal Finney, that's big data. Okay, that's really big data, because you have the other side, the guys that are alive today, going, "Hey, look, if you don't do peer-to-peer, it's a failure." I don't think it is a failure today. There's not massive amounts of peer-to-peer, but there is a lot of scaling occurring. And the way this works, okay, is that you're not possibly going to lose more than 4 million Bitcoin through Coinbase. It's very hard for me to imagine that you're going to, with the self-cust or the third-party custodian solutions we have today, that 4 million coins are going to go missing. And this was basically a misunderstanding of what the tools were and the value of the product they were trying to store. And I think at $100,000, people are going to think this through very, very carefully. Friction is not needed to onboard billions and trillions of dollars. We don't need that. Thank you.
You got on mute, Dana.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me, by the way? Is my mic okay?
Yeah, now you're good.
Okay, so how do you guys want to do this now? Do we want to go back and rebuttal with the shorter timers, or what's the structure we like?
Yeah, I think shorter comments are better. Because then we can actually respond, because there's a lot said in 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go with the other team now. One of you can pick who for 2 minutes then, or 1 minute.
Yeah, I think 1 minute's probably awesome.
Okay.
yeah.
Who wants to take it?
Okay, so while you may never have self-custody, the ability, just ordering a Trezor wallet or a Ledger wallet, it is an experience and an education in itself, because in the future, you're going to need to own your own identity. Now you can own your own money. You're going to need to probably own your own artificial intelligence, and you're probably going to be able to engage in a financial system that works without intermediaries. As we move to an artificial intelligence world, the ability to actually not trust upon a custodian, where there are agents that are being built that's probably going to hack most centralized companies into the future. The thing that you can do to protect yourself is actually learn key management. And now it may be an intimidating exercise to do that, but it's actually way less intimidating than it actually makes. You can watch a YouTube video. You can go and just do the experience. Look, buy your Bitcoin however you want. Leave it on the exchange. But at the same time, make sure you go through the experience of self-custodying. Because I know somebody that lost 25,000 Bitcoin in Bitcoinica. I know tens of thousands of people that lost money in Mt. Gox. I know lots of people that were on the victim of 119,000 Bitcoin that was stolen from Bitfinex. I also know lots of people. I spent 2 years of my life just because I entrusted some Bitcoin.
Hey, I thought they had a minute. I didn't think they had an hour. Dang,
okay,
I don't know. I can't see the timer. All right, so you're off. You're off. Simon's done.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Simon should lose some points for that.
No, we'll go.
No, it's my fault. Okay, so now Joe gets a minute.
Yeah. So Dustin said, why do I need somebody to have custodial positions and custodial solutions? That's not the question. The question isn't why you need it. The question is, how do you onboard 1 billion users? Okay. So they're conflating this. And even Simon said just a minute ago, he said, well, you may never have a self-custody solution. Exactly. Because some people, I think, frankly, they don't need it. Okay. They can obviously have that opportunity. And that's the core of the thesis. That's the opportunity you have there. But, if a user is truly afraid, if they're afraid that they're going to be silenced because they're a political dissident, or they're going to be sanctioned, or whatever reason by the government, you have that option. That's the whole point. And the majority of people, they're not making Bitcoin transactions. They're not paying for things. They're holding on for number go up right now. And that's the key. We need to get Bitcoin substantially higher with 1 billion new users if we're going to move to a system where we have political protection. And what this all boils down to, ladies and gentlemen, it's very simple. You have to have pragmatism over purism. If you have pragmatism over purism, you can win the adoption debate. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what Gary and I believe. And we shouldn't be tied to these ideological views.
All right, Rob. Wow. I had 40 Bitcoin hacked out of my blockchain wallet in January. That's a recent comment. Okay. Dustin.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I hear Gary and the other side laying out this idea that somehow, right? These are people I hear all the time talk about how Bitcoin is a completely unique asset, that it's absolutely different than anything that's ever come before it, and yet trying to strip away the things that made it an absolutely unique asset in the beginning, right? Which is the reason that Bitcoin has been able to build itself to this point where we're getting the kind of adoption that we're getting across the board, is specifically because it answered very specific problems that the monetary policy cut people like me out from being able to participate, that it limited the total amount of supply. And if you reject the baseline things, that the whole reason that it was created and everybody up until this point adopted it in order to just streamline and speed up the amount of adoption you want to get, you're leaving behind the entire point of why we're here in the first place.
So you're against ETFs? We never should have launched ETFs and brought in tens of billions of capital. That's just a bad move because
no ETFs.
All right.
What about lending? What about lending, Dustin? if you know, I can't lend. I hear people going, "Hey, look, I've got 100 Bitcoin in my self custody, and I want to borrow against it," but they want to keep it. It's like, bro, that's just not happening. Okay, it's called the best collateral in the world for a reason. But it has to sit in my hands or in someone's hands that I actually trust or have some kind of legal agreement with. The other thing is, guys, I can't possibly do all of what I'm trying to do in Bitcoin. I came from the legacy world. I have
I'm getting some flack for not keeping you guys in check. Gary.
Yeah, am I too long?
Gary, you have 1 minute. Go, Cheney.
Oh,
yep.
I just was talking. Look, I think, you know, Dustin's saying that he hears all these people talking about how great Bitcoin is, but and pointing to self-custody. Self-custody is one of at least 12 characteristics that I find extremely, extremely interesting and valuable for Bitcoin. It does not mean it's the penultimate, it's the best, it's the most important to me. In fact, I think if you meet with families that are much wealthier than me, you will find that they have very little interest right now in self-custody. They're wanting to understand the complex. They don't need to understand the seed phrase. And I just want to get trillions of dollars in here as fast as possible. And low friction is the right way to do. I actually think once we get them in the door and you give them a taste of this, okay, whether it comes through the ETF or it comes through MicroStrategy, I don't really care how it happens. What I care about is that they start thinking about more Bitcoin, and that, I think, leads to long-term self-custody.
The freedom to choose is the ultimate freedom, right? So the ability to choose, and you guys don't want to give them the option. You want to have this dogma. Sorry.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I believe in a
more open discussion right now. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we
Just
should
go
free for all it.
Yeah.
So personally, I would never say something shouldn't exist because I believe in a free market and then people should choose their solution. But I would like to advocate for people to understand that if you own a share in a Bitcoin company, you do not own any Bitcoin. If you own a Bitcoin ETF, you have an IOU that tracks the price of Bitcoin, but you don't own any Bitcoin. If you have Bitcoin on an exchange, you have an IOU from an exchange, and you don't have any Bitcoin. The true freedom, the true promise of what Bitcoin offers you is when you actually engage in owning your Bitcoin, transacting with your Bitcoin, and experiencing what it is like to actually own Bitcoin. So while you might want to do all those things and it's a free market, I'd encourage everybody to try self-custody, get it set up, and realize I don't think you'll go back for the majority of your Bitcoin unless there's some other tax reason or reason that you have to own it through some kind of exotic structure.
I hear you encouraging people to try that, but what is realistic? What do you think is realistic the next 10 years of Bitcoin? Do you think it's more custody Bitcoin than self-custody or not?
I think the vast majority do the lazy solution and are going to go through centralized parties. And then one day they're going to learn why that wasn't the best move. And then they're probably going to end up in self-custody at the end of it. But the vast majority won't be self-custody.
But Simon, in fairness, okay, and if I'm out of order here, you guys can knock me down, but I have never seen any of your financials, not any three of your financials. I would bet a large sum of money you have money in the legacy system. I've heard you publicly say that you own shares in Circle. So like you're in the legacy system. It's kind of like, I think sometimes you guys are a little hypocritical because it's like you either get out of the complete system or you hold your hand up and go, dude, I own shares in Circle. I mean, that is part of the system, and not to access that market, you would be a much poorer man today.
Well,
now you would have been richer had you bought Bitcoin and just held on to it. But you can't deny that there are other instruments around in the world. I don't see 8 billion people. I think wallet self-custody is the big loser once the ETFs launched. If we look at winners and losers, that market is going to really struggle for mass adoption on Bitcoin. And that you may get them through the tokens, but I think Bitcoin, and quite frankly, I don't know why you would want anyone spending money on from Bitcoin into a potato chip. Dude, it makes no sense.
Well, listen, I see everybody in the debates, like, right, like Glazing Joe, right, like commercial lawyer in here laying it out. But I just want you guys to notice, right, how the other team has managed to say, oh, well, we are kind of taking both sides, because we're not really going to say that self-custody shouldn't be an option. We're going to say, you know, we want to onboard people first. And yet when we do the same thing, if we say, you know, we want to push people into like no one here disagrees that most people are going to take the path of least resistance.
They just conceded, right? Gary. You just conceded.
No, you guys have said the entire debate that you want the option to be available, because there is no argument. If you have been censored, the thing that I've used to onboard people for years is that if you are politically outspoken in Canada with the trucker convoy, if you are politically outspoken in the United States, if you're organizing protests against the government, if you are speaking out against any of the hot button issues, you better have some Bitcoin, and it better be self-custody.
That's not going to fix the problem, Dustin. I mean, you know this as well as anybody. Just because you have access to your Bitcoin doesn't mean you can't then be, you know, sanctioned in a number of different ways. They could show up on your house at 3 a.m, be knocking on your door. They could serve you with a warrant. They could throw you in a cage, right? Like the fact that you got great, have fun playing with your Bitcoins when you're under arrest and being prosecuted. I mean, how does that protect a dissident?
Well, no, I can tell you in my case, it absolutely did, right? When the banks handed all of my banks, 8 different banks handed me a piece of paper that said, right, and you will get your money back in 30 to 90 days, 2 months before the 2020 election. If I didn't have access to Bitcoin, like off book, like how was I supposed to pay my bill?
No,
the point was that I wasn't supposed to be able to.
It's marginally better than not having access to banking services, right? But if you become a big enough target, Bitcoin's not going to be their attack vector. You know this. It's a much bigger attack vector. They'll just take you. Bitcoin might not be might be unconfiscatable, but you're not. You can be confiscated.
Hey, let's try this question. Let's just do it. Just a little pivot here. Let's say a guy's got a lot of money, okay, and he's got stocks, he's got MicroStrategy, he owns the complex of miners, he's got ETFs, and he's got a lot of Bitcoin in custody and in self-custody. What are you guys saying? That he needs to carry all his, because Dustin, you needed enough for the emergency. Okay, I own a lot of firearms. Over the years, I've just collected a ton of them. I don't carry, if I go to Mexico, I'm not carrying every weapon I have, or all my cash, or all my gold, or all my Bitcoin. Why would I package everything up in one thing? That for me is the most difficult thing, because you guys are talking about storing it all. How do you get around that? Is there any middle ground?
I don't think anybody here is advocating to store all of your funds in self-custody, right? The point is just abandoning self-custody as one of the things that...
If that's true, then you should allow people to come in and board them as fast as possible, even if it's on fucking Robinhood.
100%.
Smash them into their Coinbase, ETF, whatever is the easiest thing to do, because then it makes our life easy. All we have to do is ask someone, hey, you want my advice on Bitcoin? Show me your financial report. I'll go through all their equities and all their bonds and go, dude, you made 10% over the last 10 years. You paid this many fees out, and this is what Bitcoin would have done. I can convert people so fucking fast.
By the way, Gary, if you convert that many people that quickly, you have an adjacent benefit. You have the benefit of getting millions of more people that have wealth, that have status in society, that can run for office, that can protect dissidents, that can do, have positive force in society. So why wouldn't you want to say, okay, this is what we need to do. This is the path it needs to take to get to the end result of more, freedom and liberty in society.
I agree. I think we'd be better off educating the people that know so much about wallets to take some of that money that they have in the wallets and actually spend shitloads of time and money on lobbying to ensure that our self-custody rights are sacred. Okay, sacred. And I think that is a massive deal, but it should be an option for me.
Yeah, so this week alone, I just got a letter from HSBC, a bank that was set up literally to do drug dealing for the British Empire, that told me that they won't allow me to continue having my bank account if I had a massive chunk of Bitcoin in there, I'd be really petrified around what that bank would be doing with that Bitcoin. You talked about Circle. So I invested in a company, and that company was a Bitcoin company, ended up a stable coin company. And now I've got this these shares that ended up private equity, now has gone to public equity. And I just want Bitcoin at the end of it. So now I've got to go to my broker and say, in 180 days after a lock-in, can you sell some of my shares? And they'll say, yep, sure, I'll sell those for dollars. Now I've got millions of dollars sat in a brokerage account, and I've got to try and get it into a bank account so I can then get it into an exchange so that I can then buy Bitcoin. In order to do that, it will take probably most of my accounts getting shut down. It will take 1 year on a round trip because I don't live, within US or integrated into the US system. I've literally, within my company, had to hire someone full time just to work on trying to get money in and out of the banking system.
Why? Why do you have so many bank accounts? I thought you're all cold storage.
Because they keep getting shut down. I've had 50 bank accounts.
Well, why do you need it?
Down.
Why don't you just do Bitcoin only? Why don't you do Bitcoin and cold storage only, Simon? Why don't you just? Why do you have all these bank accounts?
Yes, Simon.
Because
why are you still in the system? Are you an enemy of Bitcoin?
Yeah. So when I moved to Hong Kong, I did actually do Bitcoin debit card, and I earned all my money through mining. Self-custody would come onto the Bitcoin debit card, and because you couldn't actually spend Bitcoin in Hong Kong, I used my Bitcoin debit card. But if I actually stored,
wait, why can't you spend money in the Bitcoin? Why can't you spend Bitcoin in Hong Kong?
Because most of the shops don't accept Bitcoin for spending. So you have to go through the legacy system.
So how would that help Dustin's situation when he gets censored in Hong Kong as a dissident? If they won't accept it,
because if you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, you got the majority of your wealth in self-custody. You can then take the bits that you need in order to use the legacy rails, and you can manage your life through that. But if I had my full stack of Bitcoin in my brokerage account or with my bank right now, I'd be absolutely petrified having that amount of wealth with a bank outside of my control, because my whole experience over the last 15 years as somebody perfectly legitimate that has followed every law and regulation that I could possibly follow, but just because I've been involved in Bitcoin and had significant wealth in Bitcoin, I've managed to save myself by only entrusting with the bank the minimum amount that I need in order to spend that money and manage certain financial affairs.
No,
I would be petrified having my wealth with either a broker or in an exchange or any of these providers, because I've experienced exactly what they do when you have wealth.
And the idea that to be in support of self-custody and be arguing our side, we have to somehow withdraw from the whole like the economy as a whole, and like we're not living up to the full standard. Again, I'm not.
No, that's not the idea. It's hypocritical. It's hypocritical to tell new people that they can't use custodial solutions, that they need to be 100%, self-custody, or they need to start with self-custody when you yourself are not using whole self-custody. You're using banking rails.
No one's saying they shouldn't be able to use.
There are many maxis.
But it does come across this way, okay? Like it comes across. Listen, I know a story of a guy like me that came into this space 3-4 years ago, and what he heard was the only valuable thing was self-custody. And he goes and does that, smashes $50 million on, and 1 week later has lost the fucking password. Okay, now, like, we don't want that to happen. I do not want any of my friends losing Bitcoin. And I don't want any of my friends having to pay $10,000 more for Bitcoin. I want them in the door. And then once they get some wins, dude, it's so easy. It's like dating someone. If a girl doesn't like you, it's going to be hard to make to the next step. I mean, you got to throw something out here that get them in the door. And I hear this shit all the time, man. Like, I'm not the comments. Oh, Gary's not a good Bitcoiner. Like I want $1 trillion. I think I can bring $1 trillion into Bitcoin.
Well, if everybody's going to buy Bitcoin through an exchange, like most people are going to start with a centralized on-ramp. We're just talking about storage. And so if your choices that you have, you either find a qualified custodian that's set up specifically for custody, or you use an exchange, which has been disaster for many, or you come in through some kind of ETF structure, in which case you don't own Bitcoin. And once you bought your Bitcoin, I believe every single person should buy a hardware wallet, take some of that Bitcoin off an exchange and learn how to use it in self-custody. But you're going to still have to go through one of these on-ramps in order to buy Bitcoin in the first place. And so it's just a question of where do you store it? And I think everybody should diversify their storage. And I think for me, if you end up with significant wealth, I just don't trust banks and financial institutions to store that wealth for me. And I don't trust exchanges to not get hacked when you create these large centralized honeypots.
I also, you started out, Simon, like making the case for us, like reminding people that the big brother surveillance state is growing in ways that are mind-boggling, right? The ability of AI to be able to process large data sets and do pattern recognition. We are not far away from them using, right? We've watched so many examples of debanking being used as a weapon by governments all over the world. One of the things that we absolutely have to protect is the idea of self-custody. It's a no-brainer.
But the self-custody doesn't solve the problem, because if you have $100,000 in Bitcoin, have you ever tried to sell that? I mean, I actually have, by the way, and it's almost impossible without a KYC exchange. So when you deposit and you've got that subpoena account from you, Dustin, because they're tracking your funds and closing your bank accounts, when that deposit hits Coinbase, when you deposit that Bitcoin, you think you're going to get cash out? You don't think that's going to hit your Coinbase account as well? You're not going to be able to withdraw that. Your Bitcoin's gone as soon as you try to liquidate it.
Well, I will say there are ways to do it.
I was just going to say, I'm sure Dustin has one.
And to be honest, it took me quite a long time to figure out and to work a system to be able to exist without a bank account.
I get it. But
I went 4 years without being allowed to have a bank account. 4 years. And through that time, I actually onboarded crap tons of people through exactly what you guys are talking about. I using Cash App and Venmo now, I can send people Bitcoin. Now, I'm not demanding that they begin by self-custodying, but I'm able to exist and serve as somebody who's an onboard point while also figuring out a system because of self-custody specifically. It's not something that we can just discard and be able to keep Bitcoin is what Bitcoin is and just discard self-custody and say, you know what, let's just turn it over to Bitcoin.
No, but no one's saying that. That's a straw man argument. No one's saying discard it, because it will always be there. It's part of the base layer protocol. We can always agree on that, right? It will always be an option unless it becomes uneconomical to transact on chain. You'll always be able to take self-custody. What we're talking about is the vast majority of people. We're not talking about people in the resistance like you, Dustin, who has to, fight against the man. Like, that's not what we're talking about. Your average Joe who is trying to figure this thing out. And there was a comment it was very telling. It says, I have Joshua Bryant. He says, I have a family member that wants Bitcoin, but believes he needs self-custody. He's too scared or too lazy to store it. But either way, he still doesn't own Bitcoin due to that thought process. This is exactly what we're talking about, guys.
Yeah, so I mean, there's lots of different ways of looking at this. But by the way, you talked about engaging in the political process and lobby and various other things. Try having your Bitcoin in Coinbase and then sending it to a politician. Immediately, you'll be told that you're a politically exposed person and your account will be shut down, and you'll have to figure out what to do with that Bitcoin. At that point, you need to figure out self-custody, or you need to send it to another exchange. As soon as you send it to another exchange, it will come with a new rule saying travel rule, where you need to actually declare all the different bits of information on what you're doing with your money. By the time you're finished with all of that paperwork, you'll probably be in a situation where every account is getting shut down and you have to figure out self-custody anyway.
I have no more to say. I think we have brought this to a point where it's very easy. To me, this is what I hear. I hear this is a decision for a family to make. I'm a single dad. Like, nothing, I'm not guaranteed to wake up tomorrow morning. Okay, so it would be good for my kids if I had a lawyer who, when I die, he knows how to handle everything. And me sharing my seed phrase with my lawyer already opens up Pandora's box. I mean, there's just so many different issues here. I'm going to just say, I'm going to pause my comments because I think that this is about getting people in the door, and then we educate them, and then they decide how they self-custody or custody outside the self-custody solution for the best in their family or company.
Let's make it real simple. Okay, guys, when we have all been in spaces where somebody works up the courage to get on stage and they say, I want to figure out this Bitcoin thing. I want to figure out how do I do it? How do I get on board? And what you hear is, well, you need to buy it from a non-KYC exchange and then use self-custody, and then don't buy this ETF. Make sure you don't buy it on Robinhood because you can't withdraw. I've heard this for 7-8 years now. We need to say buy it through any means necessary. Okay. And then once you get your feet wet, buy some more, and then buy some more. And then down the line, when you realize what an amazing asset this is, then move to self-custody. But getting your feet wet is critical. And we should, as a community of Bitcoiners, not discourage people simply because it's not ideal at the outset, because it's not perfect cold storage custody that's non-KYC. And I've heard that for too many years, and that's what it's an impediment to adoption.
I've definitely lived that as well. Like what you've just explained, which is there's no doubt that when we were onboarding people, we had a messaging problem. The self-custody is also particularly unique because everybody has a different system that works for them and that reflects their level of desired security, right? And that has led to I agree with you. I can't argue that I've watched people who have been turned off from absolutely adopting right away. But I think that's gotten stronger and stronger as we come along. And I think what we've actually come to with this panel is like where we started as a debate. Everybody agrees that you should get Bitcoin, and then you should learn about self-custody and put some of it aside in self-custody, because that's part of the magic of what Bitcoin offers. I can walk across a border. I can, with just words that are in my head, I'm able to take my wealth with me. And I think we're all in agreement that self-custody needs to remain. I don't think either of us are maxis on either side of this. But to me, the most important thing is that we just don't sacrifice, right? That it's not something that just gets shoved way, way to the side, because it's one of the things it's one of those underlying fundamentals that makes this a revolution, that makes this something different than every other asset that's come before it.
Well said.
Yeah, I'll summarize as well. Obviously, we were fighting for the self-custody debate. I think Joe's exactly right. You need to onboard as fast as possible. You need to get Bitcoin. You need to get off zero Bitcoin. That will involve going to an exchange. Some people will do it via an ETF simply because they've got a pension structure and there's a tax efficient way of doing it. If that's not a consideration, I'd really encourage people to actually try and get Bitcoin rather than an ETF of Bitcoin. But I understand why some people would do that. But once you're in an exchange, I think you should treat it as if it was going to be worth a lot in the future. And personally, I do not entrust millions and millions of dollars worth of value with exchanges or with custodians or with centralized parties. So I'd encourage people to try and put some of that into self-custody, experience it. And I'd also agree with Gary that you should probably be hedging. If you lose your key, you should think about, well, what do I do in another situation? And there is inheritance consideration. So all of this comes into the actual equation in the end. What I wouldn't want anyone to do is not actually try and experience self-custody and end up with the majority of their wealth or a large portion of their wealth in self-custody, as well as all the other hedges.
Yeah, that's well said.
Okay, so really, it sounds like this came down to a question of trust. Do you trust yourself with your keys or regulated institution? And then also, what time of life are you in? And how comfortable are you? Beginning, middle, and maybe the solution for everyone is a little bit different based on where they are in their life. I mean, do you guys all want to go around and say, in an ideal world, make a case for what you would do in a situation? You can give yourself as an example or somebody else. Okay. this is my, portfolio percentage wise. Because I get a lot of questions like, do you think we should diversify into ETF? A lot of questions around like that. And then some people are like, no, I'm all full storage, cold storage. That's it. What do you guys?
I don't mind taking that on. Listen, I think everybody here would tell you get Bitcoin first and then figure it out from there, right? And the other thing is, for those of us who have been here a long time, we're like, the space has evolved and adapted in so many positive ways that like the risk that we had of going to like brand new startup exchanges where we didn't really know what the backing it was, like there's a lot of scar tissue for people who've been in the space for a long time. And one of the benefits of like this widespread adoption, the other thing, but just start by getting Bitcoin. But I will say this, in the world that we are coming into, if you have ideas, if you have opinions and you like to express those, you should have some Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should probably understand like how to off-ramp it and use it. But like I said, the cool thing is we're in a world now, like when I first had to figure out the system, like how I was going to do stuff, I couldn't just Cash App like my Uber driver Bitcoin in order to like tip them. I couldn't Cash App somebody when I was like to settle a bill at the bar on Venmo. And all of that's become available now in ways that it's amazing to see. Get Bitcoin, but take the time to figure out and do self-custody. And like everything else, do it away. Listen, I've watched lots of people screw up their seed phrases and screw it up in all kinds of crazy ways. So make sure that whatever, like you take it as seriously as the amount of money you're putting into it.
I'll just say very briefly, you don't want to be scared about self-custody and let that deter you, okay? You have to just get your feet wet, get in the door. And then once you do that, I think in terms of the security profile, I can tell you my security profile has evolved over time from since I first bought Bitcoin. I won't even go into it now, but I can tell you if you showed up in my house, even though I have self-custody, it's not real self-custody because I can't do anything. I'd have to go to multiple different locations to activate anything, and there's no way you can get access to my Bitcoin. And I think that's a similar model people should take. You should constantly reevaluate your security. If you start out as a person very modest means and you get really very wealthy, well off, right? You have to reevaluate your whole security profile. That happens to everything. It's not just the Bitcoin issue. That's an issue for everybody. So I think as your position in Bitcoin grows, you need to constantly be thinking about these things, thinking about the best approach for you, whether it's a 50-50, a one-third split between custody solutions and non-custody and other options. I just think you can't be binary, and we should not speak in binary ways with newbies. That's just not helpful. So unfortunately, I have to jump, folks, but this was a ton of pleasure. It was a great pleasure.
Joe, I appreciate you so much helping me out. Joe, you guys all follow Joe. Awesome. He bounced in at the last minute. I gave him 30 minutes of notice. We forgot to invite you, Joe. So thank you very much, buddy.
Take care.
Thanks, Joe.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye, Joe.
So, guys, why don't we just wrap up like this? What did y'all? I would like to know from and Simon, if you're tired and got to get out of here. What did you like about this? I think we saw many of the questions in the audience. What did you like? What do you think we need to clean up? Any input? And maybe even from the audience. And the topics. We want topics from the audience. We'll do this every Tuesday, and the format will get better and better. So you guys just be patient with us. But so you guys send us in all the topics. As somebody said, hey, this is a fresh. We're just ginning this thing in. Simon, any comments on what we could do better?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, I think we all kind of agreed with each other, but we were arguing because we were taking our position. But I think in the end, diversification is actually the right answer. And so, self-custody, we tried to give the arguments for self-custody, but I totally understand why someone ends up with an ETF and why someone ends up with a custody solution as well, and while you're going to end up using an exchange. And so the end answer is that. And so it's a bit difficult to argue for something when you also agree with the opposition, but we just wanted to give the optimum argument. But there are a lot of things to consider, and there is no real generic advice, because at the end of the day, this is there's tax involved, there's inheritance planning involved, there's ransom, personal security, artificial. These are all really major questions. But what I don't want anyone to do is not analysis paralysis, where you end up missing Bitcoin because you were trying to do everything perfectly. The first thing is to just get exposure to Bitcoin, and then I think everyone else agrees. Figure it out from there, and we'll continuing doing debates, but there's no real generic advice here because everyone's in a different position.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
and I'll say this: it's one of the other amazing things of like where we are now versus even where we were 5 years ago. The body of content that you can consume to take yourself along, like your personal security journey, and like how, right, like financial, economic, secure, like all of these different factors. The cool thing is, and the thing I love about Bitcoin is it's taught people about economy and money and monetary policy and what it actually means. And now we have this this library of just amazing content to refer to and go back to and to build off of. And so if you're just getting started, get started. But like, you're going to find somebody who's going to be able to entertain you while you learn about all this stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dana. What did you like or not like?
I just was going through the comments. People seem pretty happy about it. And I'm putting a poll up, right, for who won the debate, but it's kind of come to a conclusion. So what can we do a poll about? Because everyone's in agreement.
Well, I don't think there's a right answer. I think the right answer is on board, man. Stop blocking people from getting into Bitcoin. You don't know what their position is. Okay. Like, just fucking buy it any way you can, dude. If you can buy it at 7-Eleven, go fucking buy it. I mean, here's Coinbase, here's Fidelity. I ask people, show me your accounts. And they will. They'll show me their accounts. Oh, Fidelity, you're invested in Philip Morris, dude. It's made 3% for 8 years. And like, how about if I guarantee you the 3% plus another 100 basis points for the next 10 years and get into Bitcoin, and I'll share another 10% on the Bitcoin with you. I could turn this into a business, dude. For all my family members, oh, you don't want to do it? Shit, you got 300 grand sitting in Philip Morris. I'll pay you 4% instead of the 3% you're getting. You'll never see below $40, and I'll give you 10% of the upside on the Bitcoin. So they have a put. See, this is why I think the self-custody and custody, I love these two worlds. Like, if you get smart about this, you can arbitrage the shit out of these two worlds, man. Like, think about it. My sister trusts me more than she trusts Bank of America, guarantee you. So, hey, sis, you got 300 grand sitting in Philip Morris, give it to me, dude. Or Bank of America, you're making 4%, I'll pay you 5%. And you know, guys, what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to go buy Bitcoin. Like, there's billions of dollars sitting around with people. People say, I can't convince my dad to do it. I can offer him a put, dude. Guarantee him. So
stop bit blocking. That's what Dr. Mark wrote. I'm going to use that phrase.
Thank you. But listen, how's the format? I thought the 3 minutes is too much. I think you can do 2 minutes, bang, bang, bang. Okay. Because we might be able to get 2 debates in here. An hour for running a debate's too long.
Yeah, I think we need to do two topics, right? We had the long intro too, where we were figuring out but if we had 2 predetermined topics, we could absolutely knock 2 out in an hour.
That's right. And look,
I think we should do a debate that's more controversial, like where Joe and I would sit on complete opposite sides, like around the Fed or something and Bitcoin. No. I think that was very tame because we kind of are all on a similar team, but we should do something that's way more polarizing.
Well, this was much better than last week.
Topic, Simon. What do you got?
Last week I took on Team Solana against. I let them beat me up, Simon.
I'd like to debate
Solana against Bitcoin. Let's go.
I'd like to debate Joe on whether the dollar is a Ponzi scheme. That's a good debate.
Send us in a list, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's put it in the comments. Yeah, it's in the comments for sure.
But I also want to leave everyone just before I go. Something that I did that I try to make sure everybody's imparted with this message is that if all you do is one thing, no matter what your financial position is, no matter what is right for you in terms of percentages, own more Bitcoin this month than the previous month,
Bang.
and do that every month for 4 years, you'll never go back.
Yeah, Dana.
Preach.
You hear that? He's preaching to you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Simon,
Noted.
buddy, Simon, thank you. Go to bed. Thank you very much. You guys follow Simon.
man,
He's
Simon.
awesome.
Thanks,
Hey, Simon,
Simon.
just before you go, on Fridays, you do something at 1 p.m. Eastern. You do a live show every Friday, don't you?
Yeah, I've got my YouTube channel, Simon Dixon. I do a show called Bitcoin Hard Talk, and I do This Week in Bitcoin, This Week in Macro, and This Week in Geopolitics, and tie it all together into this transition to a world of Bitcoin, AI, and central bank digital currencies. So subscribe to me on YouTube if you like that type of thing.
It's awesome. He's got monster amounts of content, and he's been studying financial markets for 20 years, guys. Great guy to follow. I call him a friend. He's become a friend through this. He's become a friend through the Bitcoin community. Actually, I wouldn't have met any of you people. And I still say at $105,000, Bitcoin is not one penny of premium associated with me meeting all 4 of you guys, 5 of you guys, and I call all of you my friends now. To me, it's amazing.
100%. And last thing I'll say, I think we should consider also maybe adding a political element. Like it's not the question I could get. Like we could do one of the new.
Oh no, dude, we can way
debate.
broaden this. Okay, I just wanted to do a couple of tasters. This is exactly how I start everything. Every little activity I do, I'm like, let's just go do it. And you know, Dustin, I've always wanted to have a company. I could never sell this to any of the other managers, where everything was transparent. Everybody's pay, every meeting, which means we ain't going to have many meetings. Everything is available for everyone, monster transparency. And this is my way of doing part of that. Going, hey, why don't we take the 12 or 15 minutes to get ourselves together so that other people can figure out how to organize people. And that's all we're doing here. We're organizing intellectual capital to do more good on this planet. And I think if we're rich, we can do a hell of a lot more good being cool intellectual capital. I mean, this is unstoppable. It gets me excited. So let's come up with some topics, man. We can do politics. I mean, I think it'd be cool I'm pissed off right now about a lot of shit.
I'm ready to rumble, Gary. Let's do it. Like, let's just call a couple people out, yell at them.
Let's
I can go for that.
Well, and I think that there's also some people that are arguing with each other that they would do themselves a lot of favor, just come debate and figure out what their issue is and get over it. Because none of these people are leaving. We're all going to need to figure out how do we actually cooperate and collaborate. Because I think that's the great premium in the future is collaboration. You have never I've never asked you for anything. I've only, hey, what can I do to help, man? Right. And it's really my play, right? It's like, hey, collaboration and authenticity is the next trade. It's probably going to be better than Bitcoin. It's more rare. And I think if we can do this, dude, this is such a powerful education tool. I hope Elon gets it. But we're just going to have to, the more we do, the better. So Dana, you did an awesome job. I thought Dana did. I didn't know how you were going to do. I think you should be tougher on us though.
I know.
2 minutes, boom, you're done, dude. We need a dinger.
Too nice.
Dana, we need a little
Too nice.
No, we do need like the buzzer and then the gong.
Oh, and then cut the guy. I mean,
right?
like
you know what? I'll get one of those buzzers just to have too. And if you guys have topics you really like, right underneath this post, so we know, because we're going to be writing a list of topics to do. Dustin's going to come up with some crazy ones, I'm sure.
I mean, like I'd be happy to do the Elon versus Trump on the BBB bill, right? They're constantly evolving.
The bill would be awesome to do it on, bro.
Yeah,
Right,
I think the bill
Because I don't know what's in there really. That would be awesome.
No, and we could get really passionate people from, and the other thing I like about this format that's important is that you'll notice that we didn't know which sides we were coming on when we came in. It's really important to learn how to frame your arguments and be willing to explore and make the arguments. I came in thinking I was going to be on the other side because like I like being contrarian, Right, I had all my like, I send people Bitcoin on Cash App all the time, and like I have all these personal stories of people who like screwed up their seed phrase. But you know what? Like, you gotta learn to be able to like sit on the other side. I think if we added a little bit more tension and hostility, though, like, right, it's not a terrible thing to sometimes have people who don't like each other like kind of go at it a little bit.
Yeah, well, you want to do a good one, do real estate and Bitcoin.
Ooh, I'd
You're
moderate
We're gonna add that.
not the hedge part, like,
that.
bro. There's a lot of topics. I think and the audience is coming up with, Keynesian versus Austrian, just, a lot of people are coming up with different things, socialist versus nationalism. I would like to come up with the Republicans and Democrats. There ain't any difference between these criminals.
Yeah. AI.
It doesn't have to all be Bitcoin. Bitcoin does not. I think people are going to be really disappointed. They're trying to do anything on just a Bitcoin story. I'm going to get bored to death. So are you, and so is the audience. And there's more here. Bitcoin ties everything together, which is quite interesting. Now, someone did say something. They said, hey, why don't we bring on the wallet guys? The reason we didn't do that, and I would love to know people's comments, is one, if I was a Ledger or a Trezor, I would wanted to advertise on this. Okay. However, I am not comfortable having anyone from a wallet or Fidelity come up here and pitch their deal. Now, if they want to come up here and just debate their position in the market, cool. The problem is I don't want to offend anybody either, right? So, but to me, I don't want to turn this into a pitch run. And there's already people, almost every one of these spaces are getting paid to have people show up here and pitch a 1-minute blurb. I'm just not comfortable with it. But if Ledger wanted to have a debate here, or the Republicans, hey man, brought to you by Ledger, awesome, go do your own research, and then brought to you by Fidelity. There could be both ads on if I'm Fidelity, the ETF, I'm going to buy space on this thing if Ledger is.
So I like that, but like I think you're right. Like having the teams have some kind of financial interest, right? It just I think it undercuts the idea.
They won't be able to stop
what we're trying to
themselves.
accomplish.
My brother can't stop himself. I mean, he's going to pitch his next seminar. He's on automatic.
I love that about
his
him. Though.
Job, though,
Yeah.
right? So I just don't think the audience is going to dig it. Okay, great job, Dana. Thank you, Cheney. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Cheney, amazing. Dana, great job.
Yeah, awesome.
For the next time, I'm not going to put up a poll right now, Gary, on your page,
Well, why don't we put up a poll and just ask people how they liked it, and who was the most handsome, and who's the richest, and the most elegant, and the most articulate, and then just post the results. It's only going to be one name. So
yeah, you only have to post my name. Good call, Gary.
Well, no, Simon's going to beat us both for being the richest.
This is true.
We're going to give it to the boy on the Atlantic.
cool.
Mr. $3 Bitcoin himself. Oh, what flex?
Dude, every time he says that, I just want to strangle him. No, just kidding. Just kidding. I want to strangle the people that actually talk to me about seed phrases, bro. I want to strangle your ass because you scared me. I'm like, do I really have to know that for Bitcoin? Ooh, I got to go study more. 2 years later, I come back. So, all right. Hey, thank you, guys. Dustin, thank you so much.
Cheers,
Dustin,
guys.
are you doing anything that people should follow you except on, you do X? You do tons of spaces, right?
Yeah, basically just X. Like I don't really have a presence anywhere else.
Yeah. Awesome, buddy. Thank you very much, man.
Thanks,
Dana,
guys.
thank you. Cheney, thank you. Thank you to the audience. You guys check in with us next Tuesday. We'll be running we're going to call this. In fact, I'll give a free ticket to the next family office event we do for anyone that comes up with a really clever name around this debate thing we're doing. We're going to do them Tuesdays, 5 p.m. We might move the times around for European people. If you like this space, please let us know if you would attend these. If this isn't the best time, tell us, hey, that kind of thing would be better at another time. They will be recorded, so you'll be able to go check them out, but I rarely watch anything that's recorded. 7,500 people show up. That's pretty awesome to me. And I think a lot of people got maybe some great comments, Dana.
Great comments.
Great comments. So, all right, guys, thanks. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao.